he looked to me, and I don't know what you thought, John. I mean, I was 10 feet away from the fight, so I was really close to it. It looked to me like everything was being pulled. The jabs were just a couple of inches short. The right hand, he wasn't following through with it. It looks to me like he was trying to almost like nick the fight on points in an old sort of amateur style. That didn't make any sense to me.
The thing is with it, Steve, when your plan ain't working, it's up to the corner to switch it up, and they kept saying in the 8th round, be smart behind your jab. Wasn't working because he was in front of a master technician and he played Usyk's game from the beginning and he didn't try and change it. That's his corner's fault.
It comes back to you at the end of the 8th, John, right? And there's 69,000 people there. His title's slipping away.
Yeah.
What do you tell him to do?
Throw the kitchen sink at him. Get on top of him, press him all the way, make him work. He can't work no more. Make the referee sweat cobs and get him out of there. You're big enough, you're strong enough. Believe in yourself and get him out of there. Not be smart behind your jab. Get rough with this man. Yeah. Rough him up. Get him out of his comfort zone.
What's good, family? So mash the like button, subscribe and lick off the bell. So we just heard there from your mans, John. Oh, scary. Now, obviously you might know that me and John Scary don't always see eye to eye, but as the YB always says, no one's perfect. And yes, I will ride everyone's legs off in the aspects of their life they're wrong. But on this take, John Fury is correct. 100%. And actually, yeah, I've rinsed John Fury for being chinned by the Black Skellington and by Team Lighty. But when you actually watch them fights, yes, like I told you before, there's no doubt John Scary's chin betrayed him. Like Judas. John Fury has a certified Judas chin. He was betrayed. 100%. But discounting the betrayal of his chin, to be fair to John Fury, he was fighting, if that makes sense. He wasn't dancing around. He wasn't avoiding it. He wasn't nervous to get hit. He was in there. Yes, he got hit with a rangefinder and it sent him to Kingdom Come. That's not his fault, like I told you. That was a Judas betrayal, yeah? Take away the Judas betrayal, John Fury was fighting. And that's what John Fury said in his take. He said, listen, if you're down and whatever else, you got to tuck in, go to work, dig deep, believe in yourself. Which I believe has been something that's been lacking in AJ for a long time, for the last few years. No belief in yourself. Which, by the way, makes sense why AJ went from being this killer to, for the first time in his career, running around the place against Ruiz. That's the opposite of belief in yourself. And I said it back in 2019, this is not a good look. Everyone got off on me. YB, his boxing IQ. YB, he's an outboxer. YB, you can't be the same, you got to adapt. Well, how that adapting going for you, man, now? Yeah? It wasn't adapting. Adapting is getting beat by Ruiz and fixing the actual problems. Not throwing everything you've been doing for your whole career and starting over again. That's not adapting. That's having no belief in yourself. I literally said after the Ruiz 1 fight, AJ and his team need to double down on who they are. Or don't, or retire. If you don't believe, it's no good knocking everyone out for so many years and then getting in a decent fight and thinking, oh, I don't want to be doing this anymore. What does that prove? What does that say about yourself? I think it's hypocritical. I think it's a disrespect to the sport. Yeah? You owe it to the boxing gods. You can't be taking all these men's consciousnesses, knocking consciousness out of their head. You don't do it, in my opinion, I don't take that lightly. If you spent your whole career knocking consciousnesses out of people's heads, the one time you get a taste of your own medicine, you want to go back to you want to change it all up. Nah, that's a disrespect to the sport. That means that you're good at giving it out but don't want to learn to take it. You go back to the drawing board and you fix the holes that need to be fixed. It's not like AJ was the perfect finished article against Ruiz. I did videos on it myself. I'm a relative casual. I did videos on it myself. Massive gaping holes in AJ's leaky defense. Facts. I wrote down at least 10 points, and that's just 10 points to start with. Never mind what a higher level trainer might have been able to do. Yeah? We know the YB's the number 2 trainer in the world. God knows what the number 1 trainer could have done. Shane McGuigan. No doubt. But anyway, you heard there from your man John Fury. And yeah, John Fury ducked Mickey Theo, but in today, John Fury is 50 years old now. In as much as when John Fury was in his prime, yes, he went out cold, but he went out cold fighting. He didn't go out cold running. He didn't go out cold nervous to get hit. Yes, his chin betrayed him. But what frustrates me is AJ didn't even want to roll the dice. AJ didn't even want to be in a position where he may find out he's got a Judas chin. And based on history, we know AJ's chin's pretty certified. We've never seen him flat on his back, eyes rolled in his head. Every single time he's been down, it's been a Frank Bruno special kind of thing. It's been a stumble. So why not use that as one of your positives? I know, worst comes to worst, I'm going to have to get up off the ground. And that's why I do rate the Furies in that respect. Yes, they duck fights. Yes, they don't fight often. But when they do go in there, he doesn't have a problem peeling himself off. And Fury uses that attribute to his advantage. In my opinion, and factually, there's a strength in that. There's a strength in knowing, that if worst comes to worst, I don't care what happens, I can peel myself off the floor. You need that confidence. Racing drivers need to know that they can brake in the last 2 milliseconds. If you're braking a second early, you come in 20th. Or you're in Formula 3, or you ain't racing at all, or you're crashing or whatever. Same as boxing. If you're scared to get hit, you can't focus on nothing else. And that's what happened here against Usyk. And in AJ's last few fights. The Pulev fight even more so maybe, in as much as when you watch that fight, the reason it took so many rounds, to get finished, was because AJ spent 99% of the time worried about what's coming back. Which means you can't focus on your own game. If your butt's twitching about what's coming back against a 40-year-old stiff dude, how are you meant to get your offense off? Which he didn't, by the way. So it's no surprise AJ couldn't get his offense off against Usyk, because he couldn't get it off against Pulev either. For most of the fight. And that's why it was so important to nip these things in the bud. This right here is a philosophy and culture issue. And a mindset issue. AJ needs a real old school trainer to get in there and even him out. And in the UK, the only one that comes to mind I'm thinking of it, someone I know. Bearing in mind Lawrence Okolie himself has said that he was having mental issues. That's a proven one there. And it's close to home. Shane McGuigan, that's where I'd start. If not, bear in mind most fighters have multiple trainers in their career. Worst come to worst, go to Shane for a year and move somewhere else. That's how desperate I'd be to change at the moment. That's how desperate it is for AJ, in my opinion. What we know is, even if Shane didn't work out to be correct, which I believe it would, but even if he didn't, guess what? He's going to be a damn sight better than he was with Rob McCracken and Fernando Alonso and Job from the Bible. Bunch of goofies. Not one of them man has proved anything in the sport. Not one. Not one of them man has a bona fide world champion. You can talk about Carl Froch, but Carl Froch got to where he got, not with technique, not with training. Carl Froch said himself that most of the time he didn't even listen to Rob. He went in there and done his own thing. Carl Froch got where he got because of his own personal grit and his own personal attributes, which is what I've been saying about AJ all this time. AJ got to where he got because of his attributes, not because of training or coaching. There ain't no training and coaching. There ain't no training and coaching when AJ's in there with a southpaw. No word of a lie, yeah? I swear to God, yeah? I'm a southpaw. My point is, when I was a novice, or I am a novice now, but when I first started sparring and whatnot and training, my friend, go and check his channel out. His channel is, what's it called? Beauty of Combat. Beauty of Combat, Combat of Beauty, either way. Beauty of Combat, one of the two. Beauty of Combat, Combat of Beauty. Go and check out Ollie, yeah? Either way, first started training, the first thing he said, you're a southpaw. So we know it's a battle of the outside foot. And I remember that. The whole night, yeah, the reason AJ was getting popped in his face was because AJ was conceding. AJ was happy having his foot on the inside. Every time he was stepping on the inside. And that's why Usyk couldn't believe his luck. When you fight a southpaw, it's a battle of the outside foot. Every time normally, the reason people end up stepping on each other's feet is because both fighters are trying to get their foot on the outside. Why? Because that means it lines up your straight hand. Usyk couldn't believe his luck. For the first time in his career, probably, as a southpaw, a top fighter wasn't trying to battle with his feet, wasn't trying to get the race in line. And that's why I believe Usyk was popping him every time with a straight left hand, because AJ was lining himself up. And that's why as well I believe AJ kept falling short, because he kept trying to get his right hand off with his foot on the inside. It's a madness. That in itself proves AJ's team's useless. How can you have 3 trainers and not one of you man knew for that to be a key point? Or did you think you were going to recreate the game? How'd that work out for you? Because your right hand was missing every time and Usyk couldn't miss. Oops. But anyway, you heard John Fury there. He aired out AJ's team. He said, listen, when a plan doesn't work, it's up to the team to stick it on the fighter and to let the fighter know. When you're in I don't know about you, man, yeah, but if you've ever done sparring, it's easy to get in a zone. Bear in mind, you're thinking about, it's almost like when you're in a fight, when you're in a sparring session, it's almost like you're watching a car crash. You're watching a car trying to crash into you. You're focused, yeah? You've got tunnel vision. Sparring is the definition of tunnel vision. So when you've got tunnel vision, you need outside people to give you an unbiased and, you know what I'm saying? You need your trainer to do a trainer's job. Train you to victory. Not sit there shilling, giving you crap generic advice like light on the feet and stay behind the jab when you're down 9 rounds or whatever it was. But again, this shows how inept AJ's team are. There's no doubt about it. Absolutely inept. And I said this, the worst thing is about this situation, yeah, I said to you, man, before this fight, that there isn't one person in AJ's corner who knows what they're doing. Now we know that for a fact. Oops, why we was right again. I said, Fernando Alonso, useless. Job from the Bible, useless. Rob McCrappen, useless. And all we heard was shillery. Brilliant, AJ. Dance round, AJ. Light on the feet, AJ. Stay behind your jab, AJ. I didn't see one person say, elbows in, chin down. Let's go for this KO. Shocking. That wasn't, I don't care what no one says. It's not a case of, it's a bad night for the team. There's a bad night, yeah, and then there's not having a clue what you're doing. Rob McCrappen and AJ's team tick the don't have a clue what they're doing box. Simple as that. Never, it should, if anyone with any IQ would know it's impossible for that to happen, what happened. Because even Tunde Ajayi knew to say, empty the tank. Fucking hell. You know what I'm saying? But then again, Tunde Ajayi himself, in the fight, Anthony Yarde had with the other guy. Anthony Yarde wasn't told to go all in. But then again, Tunde, people disrespect Tunde. And arguably rightfully so. People have no problem getting off all over Tunde. And yeah, he ain't got a clue what he's doing, arguably. But why does everyone, even after the fight, Carl Froch, Tony Bellend, they was all gassing Rob McCrappen up? Why is that fair? Everyone's happy to rinse Tunde, but then Rob McCrappen, who's even worse in my opinion, bearing in mind he's supposed to have much more experience, much more older, much more bigger fights, but he knows less than Tunde, who ain't got no experience as such. At least Tunde, I believe, has learnt something. How has Rob McCrappen not learnt these lessons 10 years ago? I'll tell you how. He's low IQ. When you're low IQ, you don't know what you've learnt and what you haven't learnt. Your ability to remember things is obviously impaired. Rob McCrappen is low IQ. He's like, yeah, one of them ones. He's got learning difficulties. Now again, I'm not being horrible, but it's the truth. The fact he didn't know about the battle of the outside foot, the lead outside foot, the battle he didn't know about, the fact he didn't know about nothing was going on in the fight. They should have been saying, AJ, no more back steps. Straight forward. AJ's chin the whole night. Usyk's chin on his chest. AJ's chin wide in the air like it always is. That's why every time he gets popped, it looks a lot worse as well. Every time AJ looked like he was getting hurt, he'd stumble backwards. What have I told you before? I did a video on it. Watch Floyd Mayweather. When Floyd Mayweather gets rocked by Shane Mosley and throughout his career, what does he do? He falls into it. He walks into the power. Why? Because you're much better off. When you sit at mid-range after being rocked, you are target practice at that point. When you get rocked here and you walk into it, it smothers your opponent's work. It's much harder to get teed off on. But again, it's that novice amateur way of thinking. Oh, I've been hurt. I better get away from the danger. That's the primitive way. That's the primal instinct. I've been hurt. Get away from the danger. Trained athletes know I've been hurt. Go towards the fire. It's safer there. It's actually safer on top of someone than it is stumbling at mid-range. You rarely see a fighter recover from being rocked when they stumble backwards. Because, number one, it gets your opponent rock hard. They think, yeah, I've got him. If you come forwards, psychologically, a fighter coming forwards, even if you think you've rocked them, you're thinking, well, he ain't that rocked. He's coming towards me. So it's all these little things as well. High level, high IQ elements. Guess what they ain't got? None of them. Yeah? And that's why you must bring the YB in right now. No doubt. Because one thing we do know, yeah? Fair enough, maybe AJ, well, not fair enough, but maybe AJ don't want to bring in no big trainer. You best start with the YB, that's what you best be doing. Because at least I can hang around. And give the tips. And not upstage Rob McCrappen. If that's what you're so worried about. But either way, what we know is, you ain't got no hope with your current team. I said this before. About 6 months ago, I said, listen, if you're going to have bums there anyway, if you're going to have Fernando Alonso and Drob and McCrappen who are complete bums anyway, why not invite another bum? Why not? You know what I'm saying? Ain't going to cost enough, and I'll come in there and be another bum. I've heard that you've got about 20 people in your team. Why not make it 21? Have 21 bums. Innit? I don't get that. Someone please explain it to me. And at least one of us will be speaking sense. Oops. And that's how I know that there's something else going on here. Yeah, some cabal thing, 100%. Because it don't make no sense. But anyway. Steve Bunt says to John, what would you tell your fighter if he was down bad like AJ was in the last few rounds? And John Fury says, throw the kitchen sink at him. Yeah? Bottom line. And actually I do rate John Fury because guess what? Unlike anyone in AJ's team, when his son was down bad against Otto Wallin, what did John Fury do? What did John Fury do, yeah, that every spineless individual within AJ's team refused to do? Well, John Fury came out and stuck it on Ben Davison. He said, listen, Tyson, if you stay with Ben, and it's important in my opinion to do it publicly, if you do things behind closed doors, it doesn't have the same effect, because it's easy to hide. Do you understand? That's why I put a video out in the last few days exposing Rob McCrappen for not being there for half of the time. It must be publicly known. I know I'm not a big thing, but that should be on Sky News. Your alleged head trainer, who's no good anyway, was missing for half the time. It's a joke. Everyone should be talking about that, in my opinion. Imagine England's manager at the World Cup, wasn't there for half of the time. You best believe when we lost that final, everyone would have been on, you know what I'm saying, and rightfully so. But this happens and no one want to talk about it. Tony Bellend and Carl Froch want to shill for the gaffer. He's a muppet. Rob McCrappen is an absolute mupp. But anyway, like I was saying, John Fury, I give him credit. Yeah, we already know no one's perfect, but he came out and aired out Ben Davison. Said, listen, Tyson, if you stay with Ben, nice and skinny, nice and running around the place, you're going to keep getting murked. Tyson Fury, to his credit, sacked Ben Davison off and moved to the Kronk, and has been going strength to strength ever since. AJ, not one Don spoke up. Eddie flip-flopped around it, but didn't really stick it out there nowhere. Eddie didn't really commit. If Eddie really knew what he was doing at this point, he'd make a stand and say, listen, I'm a stakeholder here. AJ, McCrappen, you've got to go. That there is a fireable offence. What happened in that corner and that game plan, bearing in mind, everyone knew. There wasn't one person in the world who said, AJ should go, or it's smart, or you're likely to win if you go in there and box. No one said that. So how are these goofies able to pull that off? And by the way, I've already exposed it. This wasn't a case of, well, YB. AJ was trained to be ferocious, but he just messed up the game. No, he messed up the implementation. No. I've got the footage. I've seen the leaks. I've showed you, man, the leaks. Yeah, the leaks from AJ sparring, he dancing around. He boxing a cruiserweight. That's what happened, 100%. Don't worry, I'm going to replay it in my next few videos. There's footage of AJ in sparring against a guy who's about 200 pound. He looks notably, he looks smaller than Usyk, because to be fair, Usyk looked about the same size as AJ. Don't know how, but either way, I've got footage of AJ and of a known small man, looked about 200 pounds, and AJ was the one dancing, you know what I mean, running around the place, 100%. So we know that's how he was training. I didn't see no footage of AJ in the pocket, chin down, marching forward, catching, countering, banging. You know what I'm saying? Putting big combinations together, nuzzling in, digging his shoulder in and whipping. I ain't seen none of that. So, there you go. That performance on the night in the corner, and the strategy, and the training, that's a fireable offence. You don't get a second chance. Bear in mind, people, the Ruiz fight was the second chance, if that makes sense. That's the bottom line. Let's not make out here that AJ was supposed to lose to Ruiz. They should have been fired then, but they got a chance. You don't get two chances, and you've had two now. Ruiz, never should have happened. It happened. Now you've got Usyk, never should have happened. It's happened. Time to go. 2 strikes, you're out. In my opinion, 1 strike, you're out in this game. This ain't no game where you have 100,000 games. You've got a limited career. You can't be doing, and this is what I'm telling you now. If AJ stays with McCracken, yeah, it's going to be win 1, lose 1. Win 1, lose 1. Because that's what's going on right now. Let's call a spade here. He lost to Ruiz. Loss, win. Loss, win. That's how it's been going. 100%. Literally. That's how it's gone. In the last 4 fights, AJ's 2-2. Is that the kind of fighter you want to be? Oops. Is it? Is that the kind of fighter you want to be, a 2-2 fighter? Unacceptable. Especially under the circumstances. So yeah, John Fury, hats off to you. No one else will call it out. And even the worst thing is, yeah, about this video, John Fury's talking sense, and guess what? Chisora, just like Bellend, just like Charles Roch, are shilling. They were saying, yeah, or Chisora was saying, yeah, no, he hasn't got to change much. Yeah, no, he hasn't got to change his strategy. He just needs to work some more. Also, yeah, no, he hasn't got to change his strategy. He just needs to do some more work or something like that, or train some more. Shocking it was. Chisora was shilling the whole way through, defending Rob McCracken. 100% Cabal handler. I hope John Fury stays on him, and it's a shame that it takes someone who's an outsider to get on AJ's team. So fair play to John Fury for doing it, because no one else is.